Hello everyone, welcome to another chess video. Today I've got another famous game for you. It was the actor playing this game, Humphrey Bogart. This was played in the year 1933, so I believe Humphrey Bogart was around 33, 34 years old at the time, and this was played before he actually starred in his most famous film, probably Casablanca. But I read that he was actually a very keen chess player, and judging by this game, he's actually quite strong. So, without further ado, let's have a look at it. Humphrey Bogart was playing white and Mr. No Name was playing with black. Bogart began with d4. Knight to f6 was played by black, and straight away white now plays a very mysterious and unusual move. Plays g4. A weird gambit line straight away, sacrificing his g-pawn, and I've never actually seen this game in my life, and it says here it's called the Indian game Gibbons-Wiedenhagen Gambit. Sorry for butchering that name. But anyway, the knight's attacking g4. The most logical thing to do in this position is just to simply take it. This is what black did. Knight takes g4. So what's white's plan with this gambit? Well, I believe it's to get a really strong centre. And this is what Bogart does. He plays f3. He hits the knight on g4. The knight retreats back to f6. And white gains a good centre with all his pawns on d4, e4 and f3 to support his e-pawn. However, white is a whole pawn down, so is this centre worth it? We'll have to see. Black played d6, a sensible move, trying to unleash and develop their bishop, gaining some open files. White played bishop to e3, there was g6, and now knight to c3, with black playing bishop to g7. Bogart now played queen to d2. So it's quite obvious what white is trying to do. Just going to castle queenside and start launching this h-pawn up the board and attack black's kingside. Knight c6 was played by black. White did indeed castle queenside, black castle kingside, and white played bishop to d3. This is actually a really standard setup against the sort of Perk and Indian type setups. The knight will come to e2 and white will start launching the pawns at the board. But the g-pawn is missing. This could have actually been quite a nice pawn to use because it's nice to have like a g5 at some point to budge this knight away. So to be honest, this gambit just seems like white's a full pawn down. However, they do have an extraordinary lead in development. Black now opened up the position, played the best move according to Stockfish, e5. So I don't think white wants to take this off because if pawn takes e5, then there will be pawn takes e5, and all of a sudden black's got a very comfortable position. They'll play bishop to e6, and I put arrows in front of the b and a pawns because I believe black will start launching a queenside attack. Instead, Bogart played d5, which hits the knight on c6. Black is forced to move it to b4, which hits the bishop on d3. And white really wants to keep this bishop on. It could become a very valuable piece in the middle game. So he plays bishop to c4. Very wise move. And black continues their attack with a5. This is a double purpose move because white is going to attack the knight and black will retreat the knight back to a6, which is what happened. So white played a3 and black now has a safety square for the knight instead of doubling the pawns if it was taken. You can't take it now because the rook will recapture. And now Bogart began with his attack. He plays the move h4. Maybe preparing to play h5 or just preparing to play knight to e2, knight to g3 and then play h5. I believe bishop d7 was the best move in this position. And after knight to e2, I think black may be able to play h5, and it's quite even in here. Even though white's a full pawn down, the engine evaluates this as slightly better for white all of a sudden. I think it's because now white can sort of suffocate black's queenside with knight to b5. Because this d6 pawn is under a lot of pressure if this c7 pawn ever moves away. For instance, if the game continued with knight to c5, king to b1, takes, white's probably got quite a pleasant position. In the game, black played knight to h5, just stopping the advancement of this h-pawn. Bogart played knight to e2 to guard the g3 square away from this knight. And now black played f5. I think this is a really good move because what you want to do is try and play f4. So for this reason, white really has to move the bishop away. So bishop g5 is pretty much forced here. And I think if black fold up correctly, they probably would actually be better. The correct follow up is just queen to e8 to move your queen away. And if white now tries to attack with a move like f4, there's always this nice move h6, which just wins the bishop. Because in the game, instead of moving the queen away, black played bishop to f6, and this is just asking for trouble. White now played f4, and all of a sudden the attack is on. The pawn protects the bishop. You can't play h6 now because the bishop can just take it, and there's going to be a lot of trades around the centre. And indeed there was. There was e takes f4, knight takes f4, knight takes f4, and queen takes f4, followed by pawn takes e4. White's best move is actually to trade the bishops off here and get into an endgame. But Bogart didn't want this, and instead he continued his attack with bishop to h6. But this is in fact a blunder. It looks really good though. It looks like the bishop is hitting the rook, forcing it to move away. But this is a deception. Black could have actually played just bishop takes knight here. Because all of a sudden the rook doesn't attack the queen. Black's just picked up a free piece. So if you play bishop takes f8 in this position, then all of a sudden black has the intermezzo move bishop to e5, hits the queen, and the queen and the bishop are both attacked at the same time. And after, let's say, queen takes e4, then the queen will just take on f8. You may be able to try queen to h6 as well, but again, queen takes f8. And after queen takes, king takes. The point is that black has two pieces for the rook and just a much better position. After bishop takes c3 as well, you can try queen takes f8 instead, but then comes queen takes, bishop takes, and now you can play bishop to g4. Hits the rook's forced to move away, and you can play bishop to f3, hits the rook, the bishop's attacked on f8. Of course you can play pawn takes bishop, but then comes bishop takes h1, and black has a much better position with the knight jumping in to c4, c5, and the bishop will retreat back to f3. This bishop is still attacked, so you play bishop to h6, but then comes bishop to f3. Very comfortable position for black. So back to the game. Black missed this idea. Instead they've retreated their rook to e8, and now white just took on e4. Knight takes e4, two pieces attacking the f6 bishop, with black retreating it back to g7. Again though, you can see the evaluation bar. This is a huge mistake. This now opens up the position for white's pieces. Once the bishop's gone, there's no more protected squares. Bishop takes g7 is played, king takes g7, and Bogart gets his pieces into the attack with h5. The point is now the pawn is preparing to take on g6, followed by queen to h6 check. Black does his best to defend. There's bishop to f5, a noble move. You think it looks good because it protects a g6 pawn. However, after pawn takes g6, black took with the bishop, and now queen h6 comes with check. And all of a sudden, black's in a lot of trouble. Plays king g8, and why is black in a lot of trouble? Well, it's because this bishop and pawn isn't actually a very strong structure. White gets his final pieces into the attack, rook to g1. And the point is that white really wants to sacrifice their rook on g6, and there's actually no way for black to stop this. You can't protect this bishop. You could maybe play rook takes e4, but it's just mate. Rook takes g6 will be played, and if pawn takes g6, then it's queen h8, king f7, rook h7 is checkmate. And if rook takes g6, you can try king f7 and try and run away. But then comes queen takes h7, king f8, and it's a lawnmower checkmate. Rook to g8 is mate. So rook to d to g1 is just a grandmaster level move from Humphrey Bogart. And there's no real way for black to hold the position. Black tries queen to e7, but now again just rook takes g6 is played. Pawn takes g6. There was queen to h8 check. King went to f7, and the final blow, rook to h7, is checkmate. So all in all, a very strong game from both sides, to be fair, but White just had the edge. I don't believe that Gambit that he played at the start was very good, but in spite of that, he actually had a devastating attack. Black missed one or two things, but in the end, White just took full advantage and won the game clearly. Anyway, I hope this was enjoyable analysis for you. If you do like the videos, please do drop a like, comment, or even subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more and improve your rating. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one.